So, we've just seen Mother, and how would you describe the experience? Huh? What? Goddamn, oh, God. Oh my Lord, sweet Jesus.
Well, goddamn, this is exciting because we've known about Mother since it was first announced a few years ago, and when we heard the name Aronofsky, Lawrence, and Bardem, we were like, goddamn, what a cast. We cannot wait to see what happens. And I mean, where do you begin with a film like this?
So this film is by Darren Aronofsky, who is the guy who did Requiem for a Dream, The Wrestler, Black Swan. His most recent film was the mixed reception Noah. So it was exciting to see him go back to do something that was really kind of... The plot was really kept under wraps. So we're not going to talk about the plot much in this review, but basically all you need to know is that Jennifer Lawrence... her character is married to Javier Bardem. They are living in a house that they are working together to kind of rebuild. It's Javier Bardem's old house, and they're working together to bring this house kind of back to life.
And then all of a sudden some unexpected guests arrive, and those guests do include Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer, and
just this film has been kept, the plot has been really kept under wraps for a reason, because this thing spirals out of control in the best possible way. This movie is another one from the Venice Festival this year, where pretty much the first thing we said to each other after walking out was, thank God studios are taking risks like this. Like, obviously you wouldn't think a movie that has the superstar Jennifer Lawrence in it is going to be a risk, but once you see this thing, because that's what it is, it's one of those movies where you're like, how the hell?
I mean, people are calling it this generation's Clockwork Orange, and I mean, like, other people are saying we haven't seen a film like this since Kubrick died, and...
Both correct!
Both correct, because films like this just don't exist anymore, and that's so freaking exciting.
And it's so good is the thing, like, this is so good. Basically, when the film finished, it's the first film that we've seen at Venice this year where half of the audience cheered and was clapping and stuff, and there was a couple of boos thrown into it. And what I'm feeling is that with this movie, it's one of those ones where you're either going to love it or you hate it. I don't really see anyone kind of cutting through the middle. The thing is with this movie is that it's very kind of, it's chaotic, obviously. It's chaotic. You're always on the back foot. The entire thing is played subjectively from Jennifer Lawrence's point of view. Anyone who has seen an Aronofsky film, particularly The Wrestler and Black Swan, knows his kind of use of tracking. He loves to just track a character, see what they're seeing through their eyes. The entire film, you're from Jennifer Lawrence's character's perspective. She has no idea what's going on. She's trying to keep on top of it, trying to keep it under control, and the film keeps finding ways to spiral off in new directions and just keep us and her just... what is happening?
Yeah, and I mean, look, in the words of literally Aronofsky, he says that, like, if you're wanting to go watch this film, you're going to be prepared that you're buying a ticket to a roller coaster, and you're going to be prepared for the loop to loop, because that's what this film is going to do to you, and, you know, it's going to turn some people off, but I think that all I can say, bare minimum, before we really get into this, is you've just got to stick with it.
You got to stick with it.
You got to try to stick with it, even if it throws things at you that you completely disagree with morally and ethically. Just give it a crack. It's a film.
That's part of it.
Find the experience and then discuss it afterwards, because boy oh boy is this film an experience.
And I myself have gone through a kind of weird journey in the time since seeing it, where I walked out of the movie and went, that was fucking awesome, I really liked it, but there's something about it that just didn't work. And over time, even just within a couple of hours, I slowly learned to realize that the reason I felt the way I did was because while I was watching the movie, because of all the secrecy around it and all this kind of symbolic marketing, I kind of thought to myself, like, I was trying to work out what the symbolism meant while I was watching it. Like, oh, is this like a biblical reference, or is this person this kind of, this famous being, or all that type of stuff, right? And the problem is that you can't do that while you're watching this movie. You have to make meaning from it after it's done. If you're trying to come up with ideas and trying to find reasons to explain what's happening while it's happening, you're going to pull yourself out of the movie and you're going to sour the experience for yourself. I was lucky enough to realize that that's what I was doing and stop myself from that and come to the realization that I want to watch this movie again, and I could watch it again every day for the rest of my life, because it's just one of those types of movies.
And now performances here are absolutely spectacular. Arguably, in my opinion, this is Jennifer Lawrence's greatest performance yet, and I do stress the word performance, because as an actor or an actress, when you come onto a project, you can get a really great script with a really great character, and you could just be nailing scenes left, right, and center, and nailing the emotions and stuff. But what we've got here from Jennifer Lawrence is a tour de force. Like, this is a performance. It's structured,
wild,
and there is so much that she goes through. Like, the emotions that she has to deliver, scene by scene and live, it's unreal. Her character is the curiosity of the film, and her character is reacting to everything that's going on, and literally by the second she's perceiving new information.
So she's switching it up on the fly like this, which is so hard to do.
And not only is she perceiving that information, we as the audience are as well. So we're like kind of like going, what on earth is going on? And so is her character as well.
She has to translate it to us while still being the emotional center of the film.
And then of course on top of that, we just get this most just an incredible, raw, unhinged, personal performance from her that's like you've just never seen her quite like this.
I don't think I've seen many actors really go to this kind of place that she has to go to for this film. Like, when I'm talking about her anchoring the film, she is on screen for upwards of 90% of the movie. The camera literally tracks her face for pretty much the entirety of the movie. It's her face and the back of her head, because it pretty much switches between forward, back, and panning between. We've also got to say Javier Bardem here is this real kind of, I don't want to say too much about his role, but it's some of his best
exciting.
Work. He's just exciting.
He's really exciting to watch every time he's on screen.
He's taking all those best things from Javier Bardem performances that you've seen, the intensity, the kind of slyness, the suspicion, that power, that force, taking all that and throwing it together with a real sympathetic side that's and a mania that's just incredible.
And everyone's kind of unknown, in a certain way when you're watching it as well. And it's just, I mean, it makes for such intriguing performances.
You never trust anyone. And that includes, obviously, when we add in Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer to the mix.
Who just absolutely bring their A game. Of course, Ed Harris has been smashing it over in Westworld, but like, it is so goddamn
really
good to see him
emotional
here.
work from him. Really kind of, it's not Ed Harris, the kind of like hardcore dude. It's Ed Harris, the broken man, and that's something we don't get to see a lot.
Yeah, especially when Michelle Pfeiffer is actually the hardcore dude as such, because her performance here is slick, it's slimy, she's a snake, and it's just...
She's bottled fire with this one. Like, this is everything that I think... we can see in a Michelle Pfeiffer performance. Like, this really is kind of her pushing everything she's capable of doing.
It's really nailing her look as well. Like, she has she has a certain look on screen. Obviously, they captured it really well as her as Catwoman originally in Batman.
Way back.
But like, again here, she just has this weird kind of slick slyness that like it's creepy to watch, but she has a lot of power.
Yeah, and she's really alluring as well at the same time.
And it's just fantastic. Donald Gleason also pops up like a bull in a china shop.
Yeah, bull in a china shop. He pops up for a bit and absolutely just I just was like sitting there stunned by what he was able to achieve in just such a short amount of time.
Like watching a line raw, this man absolutely I think impressed everyone.
Even from a scripting perspective, what he was doing was kind of nuts. And if we look at the script here, this thing is a real kind of enigma of this is an ambiguous movie. It's all allegory, it's all symbolism. This movie can mean as much as you want it to or as little as you want it to. Quite often I feel like people that walk out of this and go, oh, it was trash, we're expecting a certain thing from it, and this is not a movie where you can have expectations. You're not going to get easy answers to anything, if you get any answers at all. My only real query with the film is that should it maybe have put itself on a kind of a little bit more of a path where the casual audience members could have gathered a little bit more from it. I don't think that's necessarily a flaw, because the raw, uncompromising kind of nature of this film is something that I adore about it, and it is absolutely the best part of it. But I do feel like casual audience members who are going expecting kind of a more out-and-out horror flick are going to be challenged to a degree that they can't handle.
Yeah,
and they're going to reject the movie.
And
but
like, you know what?
it's not really a flaw with the film. Yeah, it's not a flaw with the film.
Because like, I'm so glad that Aronofsky can choose allegories and metaphors over kind of like...
Because there's so much to draw from it if you want to.
Yeah, and not only that, but like, it's allowed for other themes to pop up that like, he even mentioned in the conference that like, they didn't even think
he was like, I didn't even think of that. That's nuts that you guys went there
and
with
it's just the way, like, because this film covers so many different areas and it's so good. Like, all I'll say is like, I love the way, you know, like its attention and what it speaks about, the environment and humanity is the main things that I will say. I don't want to go into details as much as I'm sure you guys would love to hear, just because it's for your own enjoyment when you're watching it. But like, what this film does speak about, I really did get around, and I do really ask you to trust it. Just go with it and find yourself in the film in a way, without sounding really creepy, but just kind of find your way through it and try and find what the film is saying.
You mean give yourself to it. That's what it is, and that's something that we are always all about on this channel when we watch movies. We just want to give ourselves the experience. We gave ourselves this, and we got a lot from it. I feel like a lot of people are going to watch this and also think that Aronofsky wasn't in control of what he was doing, but after sitting there in that press conference today, this is a guy who really does feel like he's set up all these pieces. You really can take from it what you want, and it will still be along the right path, so definitely go for it in that regard. card.
Now, soundtrack's always been a massive part of Aronofsky's films, and Clint Mansell has been his composer he's always worked with, and they together have created some incredible...
Some of the most iconic stuff.
Incredible scores, but this time around, it's the first time he's actually not working with Mansell, and he's working with Johan Johansson, who did Theory of Everything and Arrival most recently.
Doing Blade Runner coming up.
He uses a lot of bass, and so we were expecting this film to get a lot like a really bassy, heavy sort of score. Well, actually, we didn't get a score at all. This film doesn't even really use a soundtrack. I'm sure Johansson actually did put a lot of effort in behind the scenes.
There's like a ticking, tapping type thing going on that like builds tension.
But if you're gonna look it up on Spotify, you're probably not gonna find a soundtrack as such, because it's all really done through the sound editing and the sound mixing. The sounds that you hear in scenes, someone dropping a spoon and that spoon kind of ringing out.
Rings and rattles and shrieks, and the soundtrack basically, or like the sound design by the end of the film just sounds like it's outright shrieking at you. Like the amount of, it's just a cacophony of sound, and obviously this film gets so chaotic towards the ending that it just builds to create this absolutely like mental soundscape.
It creates vicious pain that you can like definitely hear. I think that's the biggest thing that I kind of really got from it, is obviously the pain that we were like was getting expressed through the characters and the acting, but also the pain that like you could hear. So you were getting all senses kind of pounded.
It's like a lucid nightmare, like a fever dream. This thing is absolutely violent in like a cinematic type of way. Like it kind of just assaults you. And a lot of that comes down to the fantastic cinematography by Aronofsky's longtime cinematographer, Matthew Libatique. And basically his work here, when you actually look at scenes and think about how long most of the shots are and how they actually had to light this thing, it's shot on 16mm film. It's got this beautiful graininess to it, this gravelly look that we absolutely adore. But the amount of different colors going on and this insane type of like kind of heightened vibe, it's all pretty much filmed inside this one house. That's pretty much the main location. It's all pretty much one location. And it's just got so many different flavors, so many different stylings, so many different kind of feelings and little details to it. It really is just a stunning movie top to bottom.
100%, and shout out to whoever did the continuity in this film as well, because I mean like there is so much going on and they do cut around a goddamn lot. I had no idea how they pulled it off to this degree, because, and obviously a massive shout out to Aronofsky to actually plan and design with Libatique to have everything going on within that camera.
There's so much happening in this film at points that it honestly is just stunning when you actually sit down and think about how did that happen in that amount of time? How did we get there? Absolutely stunning stuff.
So Mother is an experience that just needs to be copped in a cinema. Needs to be seen, needs to be heard, needs to be felt in a cinema, because my God, this film is just something else. It's spectacular. It's honestly one in like 20 years. We rarely get films like this. I mean, because producers anymore, they just don't let these type of films happen.
It's just crazy. It's just crazy. So what I'm saying is just take a chance on it. Even if you weren't keen on this movie, take a chance on it. You never know. It is so good to be challenged by what you see. You cannot always see things that just align with what you want. It's definitely worth taking a dive on this one and seeing what you can get. When it comes to rating this movie, it's another weird one for me to rate. I don't think it was perfect. I don't think it was necessarily, it's not 100%, it's not 100%, we'll leave it down to that. So I'm giving this one a 9 out of 10.
And I'm going with a 9.5 out of 10 for this one. And I think it's a really intriguing one, because I think over time we're going to grow to, you know,
I think the whole world is going to grow to feeling that this is an absolute masterpiece.
Yeah, and just find more and more inside this little film called Mother.
So that was our review of Mother from the 2017 Venice Film Festival. We'd asked if you'd seen it yet, but you probably haven't.
So what are your thoughts on it? Have you seen the trailer? Are you liking it? What's going on inside your mind? Let us know in the comment section below.
And while you're down there, it's probably worth hitting our subscribe button to see more stuff from us.
And don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter, all at Breaking Banter.